We can
All
go ahead and
right.
get started. Today is June
Yeah.
9th, and this is going to be our boat on course session. Alan Dennison is going to be leading us off today with our rule number 5, lookout, and we'll go ahead and let him get started with it today. Welcome, Alan.
Thanks, Bree. So we've got a small group today, so we might as well keep it pretty casual. Feel free to stop me at any time. Got a slide deck to roll through. We're going to check out a couple videos. We'll go over, we'll start by going over a little bit about who I am, and then we'll run through the agenda. So let's see if I can make this work. All right. So, my name, like I said, is Alan Dennison. I'm the current past chair of the National Safe Boating Council. I've got about 35 years of boating experience, and I have a Coast Guard license. It's OUPV, and I have a towing endorsement. So OUPV is operator of operator. Sorry, 1 second. Operator of uninspected passenger vessels. So that allows me to take up to 6 passengers with me when I go out on the water. I'm also an NSBC close quarters and open water boat handling instructor, and like I just mentioned, my home port is here in Annapolis, Maryland. But I did grow up in southern New Jersey, where my boating journey began. All right, so today we're going to go over. This is our agenda. We're going to talk about what the coal regs are. We're going to look at the text of rule number 5, or the rule of keeping a proper lookout, what the purpose is, and then components of a proper lookout. We're also going to talk about factors affecting lookout requirements, human factors. We're going to talk about lookout in restricted visibility scenarios, and then the consequences of failing to maintain a proper lookout. And at the end, we'll kind of wrap things up and leave things sort of open for some questions, and we can talk about that rule and anything else you all might want to discuss. So keep rolling here. So what are the coal regs? International rules established by the International Maritime Organization, and they're designed to prevent collisions at sea. They apply to all vessels on the high seas and connected navigable waters, and they consist of rules covering conduct on the water, lights, shapes, signals, etc. One thing I did want to cover, the top 5 causes of boating accidents. So, operator inattention, improper lookout, operator inexperience, machinery failure, and navigation rules violation. Those are the top 5 reasons that people have boating accidents. I sort of feel like you can kind of the top 2, you can kind of bundle them together. A lot of times, operator inattention leads to not having a lookout on board, not doing their scan procedure, not having the situational awareness that they normally have. So now we're going to run through the text of rule number 5, and this comes straight from the Department of Homeland Security, U.S. Coast Guard Navigation Rules and Regulations Handbook. Every vessel at all times should maintain a proper lookout by sight and hearing, as well as all available means appropriate in the prevailing circumstances and conditions, so as to make a full appraisal of the situation and of the risk of collision. So everyone everywhere, this applies to all vessels without exception. This is kayaks, small sailboats, all the way up to large cargo ships. It's required 24/7, whether you're moving, drifting, or at anchor. A lot of times, large cargo vessels, container ships will have a person that's assigned to stand watch, and they're the lookout. On small vessels with an unobstructed view of 360 degrees, which is most of our recreational boaters, the operator can serve as a lookout as long as they aren't distracted. So rule number 5 tells us what every vessel must do to ensure safe navigation and collision avoidance. So you need to maintain a proper lookout always, by all means, and in any conditions. I'm going to try to play a quick video, but I might need to kind of back out of presenter mode here to get to it. So, whoops. I don't know how if Alan or Dave, if you know Ray Fernandez, he's another board member of the National Safe Boating Council. He does a lot of really awesome content online. So this is just kind of a quick video that he did on keeping a proper lookout. So let me know if you all can hear this.
Alan, I actually use
here just to chat a little bit about keeping a proper lookout. And
yep, I can hear him great.
My head's on a swivel. I'm always keeping an eye, really 360 degrees on what's going on. I'm not tunnel vision, just staring at one thing, not paying attention to anything else. I'm always just kind of scanning, looking around, port side, aft. Is anybody coming? I got a boat coming up on my stern here. Always just keeping an eye out. Now, this is something you're going to do as an operator, but you should also assign someone else on board as well. Perhaps my video guy, Kevin, he's keeping an eye out as well. But we're always trying to keep a proper lookout, always looking around. Thanks for watching and keep your eyes out.
Cool. Were you all able to hear that?
Yep, absolutely. Yeah, I plagiarize when we do our new member training. I use both US videos and some of Ray's videos.
Yeah. So David, I was David, I was also going to mention that. So Bridge Marina, Ray Fernandez, he has a ton of amazing content. It's really broken down into sort of short bite-sized clips, and he covers everything from, rules of the road, like we're talking about today, to, how to dock your boat at your favorite restaurant, how to select the appropriate safety equipment, things like that. He's got a really deep YouTube catalog. So if you have a chance, I would really recommend looking.
Yeah, absolutely, Alan. Actually, I've followed him since day one we joined.
Really awesome.
So many great little 20-second clips.
Yeah.
That really reinforce docking and a lot of the finer points.
Yep. Yeah, his stuff is really amazing.
Yeah, thank you.
He's been on our board for just a little over a year now, I think. All right. Let me pull us back up to where we were. So we did that one.
Hey, Ray from.
All right. So components of a proper lookout. So we talked about the rule where you're really supposed to use all means that you have available to you on the boat. So, you've got sight. So you're continuously doing visual observations. So you're looking around you 360 degrees, before you make a course change, you're looking to port, you're looking to starboard. You're also taking a look behind you. Hearing, listening for audible signals and machinery, monitoring warning signals, detecting nearby vessel activity. And you can do that either by, visually accounting for them or using your electronics to see them. All available means radar, AIS, and electronic navigation systems. And I keep going the wrong direction. All right, factors affecting lookout requirements. So visibility conditions. So I know here on the Chesapeake Bay, this can change, rather quickly. We have storms that roll in from the west almost every day in the summertime. We have fog. We're in a really dynamic boating environment here. So we have a lot of commercial traffic. We have fishing vessels, wreck boats, sailboats, kayakers. It's just a really diverse environment when it comes to different types of vessels. Sea state. I know everybody's boating environment's different. It sounds like we all basically boat in the same place, except for maybe Bree. She's on the lakes of Georgia, but we're dealing with sea state conditions that can change from glass calm to pretty high wave heights. And Proximity to navigational hazards is another one. So if you're boating in a close quarters environment, you really want to make sure you've got someone that's keeping a constant lookout. So, and then finally, vessel speed and maneuverability. So, how fast your vessel runs and how easy it is to maneuver, play into keeping you and your passengers safe on your boat. So, I was trying to think of specific scenarios where, things that I'd experienced or seen here on the Chesapeake Bay played into, improper lookout, or someone that did keep a proper lookout and avoided a situation. So two scenarios came to mind. One was a scenario that I experienced personally, and another was something that happened right basically outside my window here, just outside of Spa Creek on the just outside the Severn River on the Chesapeake Bay. You can see in this image we had a beautiful, clear, sunny day. Had a charter fishing boat running on plane. Pretty clear that they didn't keep a proper lookout, and this is the situation they ended up in. So definitely something to consider, that I think a lot of people become quite complacent, even in good weather conditions. So it's really vital to keep a proper lookout no matter what the conditions are like. Situation that I personally had was pretty interesting. It was probably about 8 or 9 years ago at this point. I had a 22-foot center console. I was beautiful, again, another beautiful, bright, sunny day, and I was out off of Love Point, anchored up, fishing with my dad and a good friend, and we noticed a sailboat sort of on course to meet with us, maybe 2 or 3 miles off, and we didn't really think of anything. We really didn't think of much of it. And then a few minutes passed, and we noticed that he wasn't really changing his course at all. A few more minutes passed, and he was under sail. We just assumed that he was, going to go past us and continue to rock haul. And it got to the point where we were probably about 20 or 30 yards off, and I realized no one was at the helm, and the boat was on autopilot, and he was basically headed for a broadside collision with us. So didn't think to grab my sound producing device immediately. Basically instructed my crew that we had a situation that was unfolding. We were in a situation where we at least had to let the anchor loose or cut the anchor with a knife to try to avoid a collision. And then finally I just yelled. He was that close to us, and I saw him pop up from in his cabin and make a pretty drastic course correction to avoid us. So anything can really happen out there, and it's really it's why having a proper lookout is so important. It's not just about visibility when visibility conditions are bad. You don't know what the operators are doing. For all I know, that guy could have been asleep in his boat down in the cabin making breakfast. So it just shows you that anything can happen on the water. So just thought I would share that story and kind of relate it to the picture that you can see on the screen here. It was kind of, opposite. Rather than a powerboat broadsiding a sailboat, it was about to be a sailboat broadsiding a powerboat.
Alan, should his autopilot, or whatever you call it, should that have seen your boat?
So I don't, his autopilot wouldn't see it. I think with more modern systems with radar, he would have got, he possibly could have gotten an alert that, that would have said that he was on course to, hit something that was picked up by the radar. But, you can't be too sure. You don't really know what kind of technology he has on the boat. Based on, what I saw, I'd imagine he didn't have any kind of warning system that would have, noticed my radar ping. So, but yeah, it just goes to show you, like I said, you got to be vigilant all the time. So human factors, fatigue can reduce effectiveness of keeping a proper lookout. Distractions increase the risk. So I know I boat with two kids, and having two young kids on board is very distracting. And I like to sort of assign someone else on the boat to the kids while I'm operating the boat, because, it seems like they need your attention at very critical points. So it's good to have some help there. Technology is, it seems like boat tech is getting more and more advanced by the day. Basically these, boats are coming pretty close to parking themselves. It's important to remember, though, that technology and keeping a proper lookout is only for assisting. It doesn't replace human observation. So you want to use everything available to you on the boat, and whether that's something simple like binoculars to radar to night vision, you always still want to be using your senses. So your sight and your hearing. All right, so talking about lookout and restricted visibility. If you have radar on board, you're gonna want to rely on that a little more than you normally would. I do want to point out, and I had a friend that this happened to, but just because conditions are poor doesn't mean there aren't other boats on the water. Had a friend that took his boat out in a heavy fog crossing the shipping channel and had a very close encounter with a large container ship at close range. I know for me personally, even on bright sunny days, I notice how quiet commercial traffic can be, and if you're not watching for it, it can sneak right up on you. So when you're in restricted visibility, you want to use what's available to you. So you're going to use your radar. You really want to be paying close attention to sound signals on the water. So you might be able to hear a foghorn. You might be able to hear machinery. So you might be able to hear a boat as it approaches you. Always the best idea is just to reduce your speed. If you have passengers on board with you, you really want to leverage them to assist you in making sure that you're really using everyone to keep the whole crew safe. So a situation like this would be, you've got weather that's come in, you've got dense fog. So instances where you might not be able to see as well as you normally would. So this is another local a photo from a local river here on the Chesapeake Bay. This is up on Middle River. So consequences of failing to maintain a proper lookout. I mean, you see that vessel ran into a day mark there. A lot of people were injured in that accident. I don't think there were any fatalities, but they're lucky they weren't. So you've got increased collision risk, groundings, potentially environmental damage. So kind of runs the gamut there with fuel and oil spills, injuries and fatalities. It's the last thing we want to happen on the water. I mean, everybody wants to come home, everyone wants to have a great day, and then finally legal and financial consequences. Kind of using two computers here, so try to bear with me. All right, so best practices. We want to maintain continuous observation. So someone's always got their head on a swivel. Someone's always looking 360 degrees around, using the scan technique, using all available equipment. So everything you've got on board, radar, binoculars, and then obviously your senses. So you also want to minimize distractions. And, just like in our cars, I can't tell you how many people you see on a pretty regular basis on their cell phones on their boats. This also goes for listening to loud music. So if your music on board is So loud that it's prohibiting you from hearing the sounds in your environment. It's too loud. So you also want to account for the conditions. So like we said before, if your visibility is reduced by fog, rain, darkness, obviously the necessity to use electronic means like radar increases drastically. And you also want to just, you maintain awareness. So you're navigating not just for yourself, but to anticipate and avoid risk created by others on the water. So you're wanting to keep an eye on what everyone's doing. Like that situation with me with the sailboat, wouldn't have thought in a powerboat I would almost end up in a sailboat powerboat collision caused by the sailboat, but that's almost what happened. Right. I had another video here. Let me just try to pull it up real quick. So it's one of the more basic rules of the road. Sorry. It wouldn't let me put it in the it wouldn't let me put it in the presentation like the other one for some reason. Sorry. We'll find it. Maybe. Maybe not. Bear with me for 1 second. I'm going to try to find that on my other machine real quick and send it over. But so wanted to talk real quick about a practical example. So your vessel's approaching a busy traffic separation scheme at night. So where you'd find this to be the most condensed would be a river system. So your proper actions, you're going to do visual scanning, you're going to do radar monitoring. One thing I forgot to mention previously was AIS. I mean, a very good tool, especially when you're looking at commercial shipping. Not all recreational boaters utilize AIS though. So that's sort of an accessory tech that you can use. And then listening for signals, communicating with your crew, and then ultimately the result that you're looking for is, early detection and avoidance of any kind of collision risk. So, that can be other vessels, that can be fixed structures. So this is just kind of a summary, the 5 key points. You really want to maintain a proper lookout at all times. You want to use sight, you want to use hearing, and then all available means to you. But you're always using your vision and you're always using your hearing. You're continuously assessing the situation. So the situation is completely dynamic and fluid. It's always going to change. You want to detect and avoid collision risks early. And then, as I mentioned before, technology supports, but does not replace vigilant watchkeeping. So that's the gist of it. It's one of the more simple rules of the road. I think, Bree, how long do we have? Do we have till 1?
No, you can, whenever you're done, you're good.
Okay.
You have until 1 though, whenever you're
Yeah, let me see if I can bring I had that one. Just bear with me for 1 second. I'm gonna stop sharing and then try to jump over to that video real quick.
Welcome back to For the
All right,
Mariners,
got it
by
here. So it's actually pretty difficult. Like, I don't think we have anything at the National Safe Boating Council that talks about lookout. And I reviewed a lot of videos on YouTube that were available, and there was a lot of like self-promotion and sort of poor boating boating habits, a lot of people not wearing life jackets. So I had a difficult time finding content for some video, but this one does a pretty good job at summarizing everything. So I thought I'd share it real quick. So bear with me. Here we go.
Today we are diving into one of the most critical rules in the entire maritime handbook, which is Rule 5 of the Call Regs, focusing on the lookout requirement. This rule is often cited in maritime accident investigations because its application is so fundamental to safe navigation. Rule 5 states that every vessel shall at all times maintain a proper lookout by sight and hearing, as well as by all available means appropriate in the prevailing circumstances and conditions. The phrase "at all times" is the most vital part of this regulation because it means there is never a moment while a vessel is underway that a lookout is not required. Whether you are in the middle of a vast ocean or a crowded harbor, the duty to remain vigilant is constant. A proper lookout is not just about having someone standing on the bridge staring out the window. It involves a comprehensive appraisal of the situation and of the risk of collision. This appraisal requires the use of every sense and every piece of technology at your disposal. Sight and hearing are your primary tools, allowing you to spot the navigation lights of another vessel or hear the sound signals of a ship hidden by fog. However, the rule goes further by mandating the use of all available means, which includes radar, ARPA, and AIS. If your ship is equipped with radar, you are legally obligated to use it effectively to detect targets long before they are visible to the naked eye. The requirement for a lookout also depends on the prevailing circumstances and conditions. In heavy rain, thick fog, or high traffic areas, the intensity of the lookout must increase. This might mean posting additional personnel on the bow or using binoculars more frequently. The goal of Rule 5 is to ensure that the bridge team has a full mental map of everything happening around the ship. It is about detecting change before it becomes a danger. A proper lookout must be able to identify not just the presence of another vessel, but also its heading, its speed, and whether its movement poses a threat. This rule applies to everyone from the smallest rowing boat to the largest supertanker. There is no exception for fatigue or being short-staffed because the safety of the vessel and everyone on board depends on this continuous watch. By maintaining a disciplined lookout, you gain the precious gift of time, which is the most important factor in making safe steering decisions. In the eyes of the law, failing to keep a proper lookout is often seen as the primary cause of collisions, because if you do not see the danger, you cannot avoid it. Mastering Rule 5 means committing to unwavering Steiner focus every single time you are on the water, ensuring that nothing goes unnoticed and every potential risk is identified well in advance. If you found this video helpful,
Yeah, so I thought that was a decent summary video. Not, overly visually appealing, but really covered things. Some of the other ones were, 5 to 10 minutes long, and it was basically just all text on screen. So I thought that was a pretty good summary. So yeah, that's all I have on my slide deck. Definitely would open it up to any questions you might have or comments. So we got a couple minutes. Yeah.
And I think it all flowed through very well, Alan.
Cool.
All the key topics were hit on it.
Yeah, I think it was great.
Very helpful
Any
for me.
questions? Alan, David, y'all have any questions?
I'm good, thanks.
No, that was great.
Awesome. All right. Well, David, I will let me see if I can send you a direct message.
Alan, I didn't realize you weren't with Freedom when I said that earlier. I don't want to take advantage of your time, but if any help from your marina, any local knowledge is always welcome, and just maybe see you down there sometime.
Oh yeah, for sure. I was just gonna send you my email address, David. I can put it. Let me see if I can put it in the
That'd be
chat.
great.
I'm gonna stop
And
the
David,
recording
this is
now.
Alan.
Thank you, Alan, so much for this. You did a great job, and we can continue talking. I'm just going to stop the recording.